Drops in RuneScape are always quite exciting. If you get all the drops from the same boss, then you unlock a neat title. If you go a step further and unlock all the boss pets and specific kill count requirements from each boss, then you get an even cooler title. If you go a step above that and unlock every drop from every boss, then you get an even cooler than an even cooler title. However, there are a few outliers in these drops that go past the rarity of what I would consider reasonable. You may not agree on all of them, but I'm going to go over the ones that I think are problematic and possibly give some suggestions on how they could be improved. So starting off in no particular order, we have the Araxor base pet. The way this pet works is the more enrage is gained during the kill, aka the ending rage versus the starting enrage, the more likely you are to get the pet. Like, that sounds alright, but it's actually a bit weird. This is because as you improve at the boss and kill it faster, the boss therefore has less time to generate enrage, so your chance to get the pet gets worse the more competent you are at the boss. It's a bit backwards, isn't it? The quick fix for this is to make it so the initial enrage is what the pet chance is based on instead, so then camping 300% would make the pet much more likely, if you're capable of doing it, of course. Perhaps also a threshold would be quite nice to be a bit more in line with other boss pets. Next up, we have Little Tuzzy. This is a 1 in 500 pet from Beastmaster, which has no threshold and is ideally only looted every 2 days due to the raid's lockout mechanic. You can technically kill this boss over and over if you want to, but the problem there is you get literally no loot from doing so, which obviously feels incredibly bad. Using the rerolls available on Beastmaster does essentially make Tuzzy a 1 in 250 drop, which sounds a little bit more reasonable, but it is still quite absurd for a pet like this to not have a threshold. So a threshold every 100 kills would go such a long way and stop people going to the unbelievable dry streaks of over 2,000 kills. Yeah, people have actually gone that dry. It's ridiculous. Then we have Croesus. There's not too much to say about this one, but it's a bit of an outlier in the threshold department because it has a 1 in 1,000 drop rate, which isn't so bad, but it has a weird 500 threshold instead of the 200 threshold that it probably should have if it's going to follow the rest of the boss pets anyway. And then on the topic of Elder God Wars, Zerk most certainly is the biggest offender when it comes to the pet drop. It's a step up from the Fight Kiln, which has a 1 in 200 drop rate and a 40 threshold, but Zerk, for some reason, has a wild 1 in 500 drop rate in normal mode and then a 1 in 300 drop rate in hard mode, and then both of them share the same threshold of 100 kills. This is over twice as bad as Kiln, and honestly, the kills here take even longer than Kiln, so I don't know what they were thinking, really. But what this means is you have the unluckiest people going nearly 500 kills before they get the pet, and with each run being between 20 and 40 minutes, this is absolutely absurd. Hard mode, at the very least, should have its own threshold at 60 kills perhaps, although I would personally like the drop rate and threshold to be slightly more generous still. Now, the big one, Vitalis. This is the gatekeeper pet of Insane Final Boss, and almost everyone that gets it is on the incredibly lucky side. It has a 1 in 5,000 drop rate per drop pile with a 1,000 threshold. There are 5 drops per kill, but even if you're duoing, you're only going to get 2 or 3 of them on average. This is the only pet that other people can also reroll to you if they have it already, which is a little bit odd as well. So my solution would be to make the drop rate on a per kill basis rather than a per pile, while also removing the odd reroll mechanic, as no other boss pet has this and it doesn't really make that much sense here. And I know people are going to have smoke coming out of their ears because of some imaginary prestige from getting this pet early, but honestly, no boss should have this much of a percentage taking up of Insane Final Boss. It is by far the rarest pet, and it really doesn't make any sense anymore for a 10-year-old boss to have that status. Like, it's a great boss, don't get me wrong, but the pet drop rate is just wild. So my proposed solution is a drop rate of 1 in 1,500 per kill, with a 300 threshold. This keeps it rare, as people might quite like that, but it also reduces the amount of terribly unlucky people by a large margin, and it makes it a lot more grindable and hopefully achievable if you're willing to put in the time. And it's not just boss pets that are the problem when going for log completions though. let's talk about next Angel of Death's weapon drop rates. They are 1 in 2,000 for a specific weapon. This is far, 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 far more rare than any other weapon in the entire game, and could do with being a touch more common. Perhaps 1 in 1k each instead of 1 in 2k. I personally went 8,000 dry on an Imperium core, but that's a dream compared to someone that I know who has 12,000 kills and he doesn't have a wand. I think it's absolutely absurd that this can happen to anyone, and I would love to see it made nicer, similar to the chest rates that got changed recently, so just nobody has to go through that many kills to get a drop. It's just insane. So I was editing this video and then remembered one more thing. The Dark Onyx core from the Wilderness Flash events are still far too rare for what they are. They've already been buffed significantly once, but I feel like that buff missed the mark. I've done over 1,500 events on my Iron Man and I'm yet to find a single core. Thankfully, these upgrades aren't overly powerful, but the fact these upgrades are still over 700 million gold, it just really goes to show a disparity in rarity versus usefulness, and their value is almost entirely based on rarity. Yeah, little buff to these would be quite nice. Maybe even like a dry threshold. If you go dry, you're then more likely to get it. That would be quite nice. And then lastly, we have Barrows. This is one hell of a grind for anyone going for Golden Reaper. This is especially prevalent when it comes to one Barrow's brother or sister, specifically Linza. She has 150,000 HP instead of the usual 12,000, and on top of that, her drops seem to be significantly rarer and harder to obtain than every other Barrow's brother. The majority of people will end up just needing her drops while having every other drop in the drop log already. It could do with a bit of a buff to make things a bit more streamlined, because it really does kind of suck having everything else, but you've still got to keep killing Linza over and over and over and over and over, and she's got so much health, she takes up so much time. But yeah, hopefully that can be improved at some point as well. There are other drops in the game that I feel like are a little bit too much, but those are mostly Slayer drops there, but these ones are the bossing ones that I think could really do with being addressed, so hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I would say thank you for watching. And I hope you're looking forward to the Necromancy race next week as well, which you can follow along my progress if you would like to on the Twitch channel and the YouTube channel. So don't forget to check it out, links in the description, follow, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And yeah, let me know if you agree with what I'm saying about these drops. You may not, it's fine. You don't have to, I'm not forcing you. But yeah, I think they'd be good things to tweak slightly. So let me know if you think the same. And let me know if I missed anything as well, because I may well have missed something. But either way, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.